The house was quiet. The children had just gone to bed, and I stood in the kitchen, staring at the cold cup of coffee in front of me. The warmth was gone now, replaced by an eerie chill that seemed to hang in the air. Mark had been acting different for weeks. It started small, with him staying late at work. Then, it grew into something I couldn't ignore. Distant looks, whispered phone calls, and a subtle change in the way he touched me. The affection that once seemed so natural between us now felt forced. But I was in denial. Surely, this was just stress, right? He was working hard to provide for the family. We had the kids to think about, the house, our future. And yet, every time I looked at him, something inside me felt off. Then came the night I saw the first sign. I walked into the living room, expecting to find Mark watching TV, but he was on the phone, his voice low and urgent. As I approached, I caught a few words. He was laughing. Not the way he laughed with me, not the easy, comfortable laugh we shared after a long day. No, this was different. There was a warmth to it, something unfamiliar. And when he saw me, his expression faltered for just a second before he quickly ended the call. Sarah couldn't help but feel a sense of unease each time. Mark left for one of his late-night business meetings. At first, it was easy to dismiss as the stress of his career, but after a while, the pattern became impossible to ignore. And yet, she told herself she was being paranoid. Mark had always been the reliable, loving husband. He was a provider, a protector. So why would he betray her now? But as the days went on, her mind began to twist itself into knots. She started noticing little details. His phone constantly face down on the table, his responses short and distracted, his eyes avoiding hers when they used to make such deep, meaningful contact. She tried to shake the feeling, but every time he left, something inside her screamed that something was wrong. Then, one day, while Mark was in the shower, she grabbed his phone. Her hands shook as she scrolled through his messages, almost scared of what she might find. She had told herself she wasn't going to invade his privacy, but something deep inside her told her she needed to know. And then, there it was. The text message from Olivia. "I miss you, babe. Can't wait to see you tonight. Just the two of us." The breath left her body in a single rush. She stared at the screen, trying to process what it meant. Could this be a mistake? Maybe it was just a joke. But Sarah knew better. She had never seen Mark act like this. So distant, so cold. He had always been open with her. Always. But now, his love felt hollow. She quickly put the phone down, her heart racing. She tried to breathe, tried to steady herself, but it was impossible. In that moment, she knew. Everything she thought was true. Everything she had built with Mark was a lie. Sarah's mind raced as she processed the revelation. She had to confront him. But how? How could she look at him the same way again after everything she had just uncovered? The following evening, Sarah made a decision. She would follow Mark. If he was really seeing Olivia, if he was truly betraying her, she needed to know the full extent of his deceit. And so, she did. The night was thick with tension, the city lights casting long shadows as Sarah trailed behind Mark's car, a silent observer to the unraveling of her marriage. She followed him to a small cafe on the edge of town, a place she had never seen before. Her heart hammered in her chest as she parked her car a few blocks away, watching him walk inside. And then she saw Olivia, the woman he'd been texting, the woman who had slowly become the phantom in their relationship. They greeted each other with a warm embrace, too intimate to ignore. Sarah's stomach twisted in knots as she watched them sit down, their faces close, laughing, talking like they shared a world that Sarah was no longer a part of. For a long moment, Sarah sat frozen in her car. The pain was raw, overwhelming. She couldn't breathe. She wanted to storm into the cafe, demand answers, confront them both, but something inside her held her back. She couldn't. Not yet. Instead, she turned the engine on and drove away, the weight of betrayal pressing down on her chest. Sarah barely slept that night. The betrayal was a wound that would not heal. She had known for months that something was wrong, but the reality of it, the crushing weight of it, was unbearable. Yet, as she sat in the silence of their home, something shifted inside her. The anger, the hurt, they were still there, but there was something else now. Resolve. She wouldn't just be a passive victim in this story. She wouldn't let Mark and Olivia destroy her. She needed justice, but not the kind that came from confrontation. No, she would take control. She would make Mark feel the pain he had caused her, in ways that would hurt him far more than any angry words or tears could. She began planning, carefully, methodically. First, she needed more evidence. Sarah started tracking Mark's movements, following him discreetly when he left for work, gathering photographs and receipts from his office. The more she found, the more disgusted she became. Olivia was no stranger to Mark. In fact, she'd been involved with him for months, hiding her true intentions behind a mask of friendship. Olivia had been using Mark as a pawn in her own game. Sarah's emotions were a whirlwind. Rage, betrayal, sadness, but something deeper, something darker began to rise within her. She knew she had to act, and she would do so carefully. Every move would be calculated. She wouldn't let Mark or Olivia see her coming. Sarah wasted no time. She knew she had to act fast. With her newly gathered evidence, she started sowing the seeds of destruction in Mark's life. She used her social connections, friends of friends, people who worked with him, to start spreading rumors. She subtly leaked the affair, making sure it reached the right ears. Mark's colleagues began to gossip. The whispers about his unprofessional behavior grew louder. He wasn't the trusted, hard-working man they had once admired. No, now he was just another man with a tainted reputation. Mark came home that night, more exhausted than usual. He told Sarah that there had been strange rumors at work, and he was worried about his job. Sarah said nothing, but inside, she felt a sense of satisfaction. The first step of her plan was working, but she wasn't finished yet. She had a lot more to do before she would be satisfied. It wasn't just Mark's professional life she wanted to ruin. She wanted to make sure Olivia felt the full weight of the consequences too. She couldn't just destroy Mark's life. She needed to make sure that Olivia knew exactly what it felt like to destroy someone. Sarah had always been a quiet observer, content to let things happen around her. But now, she was an active participant. Her revenge on Olivia was far from over. As she investigated Olivia further, she discovered things that no one else knew. Secrets that would be devastating if exposed. Olivia had her own past of manipulation and deceit. She had used men before, left a trail of broken hearts and ruined relationships in her wake. And now, it was her turn to pay for the damage she'd done. Sarah didn't hesitate. She exposed Olivia's lies, revealing the woman's true nature to everyone she knew. The lies she had told about her own marriage were no longer secrets. Sarah made sure Olivia's friends abandoned her. Her colleagues questioned her integrity, and her reputation fell apart piece by piece. Sarah couldn't help but watch with a sense of cold satisfaction. Olivia was spiraling, trying desperately to hold on to the facade she had so carefully constructed. That Sarah had taken everything from her, just as Olivia had taken everything from Sarah. As Mark's world began to crumble, so did Sarah's. The pain of revenge wasn't as sweet as she had imagined. Watching Mark suffer felt hollow. She had expected satisfaction, but instead she found only emptiness. The anger that had fueled her actions began to fade, leaving behind a sense of sadness and regret. Mark's career had all but collapsed. His professional reputation was shattered. But what hurt Sarah more than any of that was watching the man she had once loved fall apart. The guilt, the remorse in his eyes, was almost more than she could bear. He tried to reach out to her, tried to apologize, but Sarah was no longer the woman he had known. She was a stranger now, hardened and distant dot in the quiet of the night. She began to question her motives. Was this really revenge, or was it something deeper? What had she truly gained from all of this? It wasn't until Sarah stumbled upon an old journal of Olivia's that the final twist came. As she read through the pages, she discovered that Olivia had orchestrated this entire affair, not just to hurt Sarah, but to manipulate Mark, to use him as a pawn in her own revenge plot against Sarah. The realization hit like a slap to the face. Mark wasn't the only one who had betrayed her. Olivia had been playing them both for her own twisted game. In the end, Sarah realized that her revenge had consumed her. It had changed her, hardened her. But as she walked away from the wreckage of her marriage and her life, she felt something new. Peace. The pain would always be there, but it no longer controlled her. Mark, now a broken shell of the man he had been, faded into the past. Olivia disappeared from her life entirely. And Sarah, for the first time in a long time, could finally breathe. Asterisk in the end, Sarah's greatest victory wasn't destroying Mark or Olivia. It was finding herself again. The revenge had cost her more than she had anticipated, but it had also given her the strength to walk away. It wasn't the closure she had imagined, but it was enough.